Chapter 118, War Machine. With Lin Jufeng's killing of the 15 demons at the Supremacy Realm, the restless world became somewhat calm. Those that heard of Lin Jufeng's feat found him unfathomable. To be able to kill 15 supremacies with one strike, just exactly how powerful was he? A few powerhouses from the previous era who had just broken through their own seals couldn't help but gasp when they witnessed his move. This was simply incredible. Those that expressed their shock were mostly those that had seen Lin Jufeng make a move for the first time. But the demons that he had suppressed for 10 whole years back then were all too familiar with this scene. In those 10 years, every time Lin Jufeng came over, a demon would attack him. However, with only just a casual slap on his end, that demon would always end up severely injured. They couldn't retaliate at all. It has been 5 years since they escaped from that demon's den. But until now, they reckoned that the result of them attacking Lin Jufeng would still be the same. The 3,000 plus demons have scattered all over the land. They became busy with their own matters. But when the 15 demons charged into the imperial capital in great fanfare to kill Lin Jufeng, they all had different expectations. Some secretly looked forward to the battle. Some frowned, but kept on watching. And some directly shook their heads in dismissal. One of those that shook their heads was Queen Scarlet, the one who had built the demon's den beneath the cold palace. After she gained her freedom, she traveled overseas and witnessed Lin Jufeng's move seen from thousands of mountains and rivers away. Witnessing what the 15 demons were about to do, she coldly snorted. A bunch of fools seeking their deaths. Sure enough, Lin Jufeng didn't even personally appear. He killed them with a single sword move from tens of thousands of miles away. Queen Scarlet wore a grave look. 5 years have passed and he has become even stronger. He has been working very hard in the Supremacy Realm. To defeat him so early into this era, it wouldn't be that easy. Strength in numbers just isn't enough to defeat him. She experienced Lin Jufeng's might on their final day in that demon's den. Thus, she knew all too well just how strong Lin Jufeng was. As a result, she treated the actions of the Bat King and the others as the actions of clowns in a circus. Only after I've completed my transformation and when this world becomes even more exciting will the golden age of this era truly begin, Queen Scarlet murmured as she looked at the imperial capital in the distance. She went deep into the sea to complete her transformation. In the Everlasting Hatred Demon sect, Blood Demon also saw this scene. He looked at his shriveled body and said softly, "I think that it would be good for me to just absorb the blood of wild beasts in the future. I'm old and my stomach isn't that good, I should change my taste. As a man, I should know when to retreat and to advance." Lin Jufeng was just too fierce. Blood Demon was secretly glad that his mind was clear enough and he didn't listen to the words of Bat King. Otherwise, he would have been dead by now. But on second thought, the fiercer and stronger Lin Jufeng was, the more aggrieved he felt. The days of freely sucking the blood of mortals seemed to be gone forever. Lin Jufeng's silent oppression in the hearts of the demons like Blood Demon didn't disappear. In fact, it became even stronger. How can there be such a monster in this world? Blood Demon let out a long sigh. Right now, he only wanted to stay in the Everlasting Hatred Demon sect. He planned on slowly nourishing himself here without leaving. This world where Lin Jufeng existed was just too dangerous for him to roam freely. The outside world became turbulent for a while, but to Lin Jufeng, killing those 15 demon supremacies didn't pose any significant problem to him. 5 years ago, he was already at the Supremacy Realm. The domain that he had nurtured in his body had already become as vast and as boundless as the seas. After continuously signing in for 5 whole years in the true land of extreme negative energy, he had received countless peerless techniques from the various tombs that he had signed in at. Each of the techniques he received was similar to the flying sword technique of the Millennium Sword God. They were all peerless techniques from the same era. By signing in, he could receive peerless techniques. Just from this alone made it obvious that Lin Jufeng wasn't someone to be trifled with. He studied every technique seriously. It wasn't that difficult for him to assimilate the techniques that he received from signing in and then turning them into his own. In addition, with the help of the rising tide of the world's spiritual energy, he became akin to a fish swimming against the current. The only exception was that the current didn't pose a problem to him. In fact, he was even more troubled as to where exactly he was headed to. The flying sword technique was only one of Lin Jufeng's peerless techniques. Right now, after receiving so many peerless techniques, Lin Jufeng knew that he had to find a way to combine all of these techniques together to create his own invincible technique that was the amalgamation of everything that he had received so far. When separated, they were the various peerless techniques that he received from signing in. Together, they were Lin Jufeng's invincible technique. This was Lin Jufeng's current goal. As for the demons that he had killed, they were just akin to a passerby in his peaceful journey to the summit of cultivation. Lin Jufeng didn't take the incident seriously at all. After he executed the flying sword technique, he resumed his peaceful and quiet life. He continued with his daily routine. The next day, he went deep into the true land of extreme negative energy. Soon enough, he arrived at its core. Here, there were fewer tombs than Lin Jufeng had expected. They weren't as densely packed compared to the tombs in the outer regions. But the quality of the rewards had increased exponentially. Today, Lin Jufeng stood before a small grave and looked at the stone tablet with words carved on it. The words written on the stone tablet were written with bold calligraphy. Furthermore, the message it displayed was very interesting in Lin Jufeng's eyes. Tomb of the 49th sect leader of the Zenith Heaven Path sect. Tomb Maker, the tomb owner himself. These were the two sets of words written on the stone tablet. Lin Jufeng could tell that these words were carved out using true qi that was concentrated on one's fingertip. The handwriting looked ancient, yet mighty. The handwriting was cursive, yet it clearly displayed the complicated emotions of the writer as he wrote this set of words. Writing his own epitaph. He's the previous sect leader of the Zenith Heaven Path sect, Lin Jufeng mumbled. The Zenith Heaven Path sect had already awakened in this brand new era and they had become a sect beneath the banner of the Yuha God dynasty. But even though they were under the protection of the Yuha God dynasty, Lin Jufeng knew that those people were constantly doing their best to infiltrate and replace the higher-ranking members of the imperial court with their own members. Emperor De made several transactions with the Zenith Heaven Path sect in exchange for their support. At the same time, Emperor De also roped in other sects to suppress the Zenith Heaven Path sect. He didn't allow them to be the sole dominating in the entire dynasty. To be honest, the Zenith Heaven Path sect seemed to be in decline even though their members had just awakened into this brand new era. Their sect was in the mountains outside the imperial capital. None of their members also dared to go deep into the imperial capital, much more into the Forbidden City. This was understandable, however, for they knew that the Yuha God dynasty had a terrifying guardian deity protecting it. The Zenith Heaven Path sect only let their disciples investigate this matter in secret. They had so many powerhouses, but none of them dared to enter the imperial capital. In the struggle between the Zenith Heaven Path sect and Emperor De, both sides suffered victories and losses. But the crucial fact was that Emperor De had greatly reduced the Zenith Heaven Path sect's potential for development. It seemed as if the former was trying his best to reduce the chances of the latter becoming the sole dominating sect in the dynasty. Emperor De's actions endlessly frustrated the Zenith Heaven Path sect. Lin Jufeng had previously heard about these things from Dakin. Lin Jufeng didn't expect to encounter the tomb of the Zenith Heaven Path sect's 49th sect leader in the land of extreme negative energy. Do you want to sign in before the tomb of the 49th sect leader of the Zenith Heaven Path sect? These words appeared before Lin Jufeng's eyes. Sign in. Lin Jufeng agreed. Sign in successful. Received a war machine. Lin Jufeng was stunned. What? Soon, an expressionless corpse appeared before Lin Jufeng. The corpse was about 3 meters tall. His eyes were closed, yet his breathing was steady despite how he looked. His physique was muscular, his skin was bronze in color, while his eyebrows were thick. The key problem was that there was no life in this person's body. Moreover, Lin Jufeng could sense that his internal organs were the strongest in the world. Despite how imposing he looked, what mattered was that he didn't have the breath of life. What was more shocking, however, was the fact that even though he was technically not alive, his internal organs that helped his body operate were the strongest Lin Jufeng had ever seen in this world. The only problem was that he was technically dead. This is a war machine that has been refined under the hands of countless people. When he was still alive, he was once a peerless martial artist. But after his death, his corpse was refined and turned into a war machine. Even in death, his body still possesses a terrifying strength. It only knows how to kill and has no other feelings. Its recovery ability is extremely strong, and as long as a piece of its flesh still exists, it could rapidly recover from its injuries. These lines of words resolved some of Lin Jufeng's questions. Isn't he the same as Nameless? Just that he's hundreds or thousands of times stronger than Nameless, Lin Jufeng mumbled. He looked at this so-called war machine, but he decided not to activate it just yet. After having received the war machine, Lin Jufeng seemed a little disappointed. He's a sect leader after all. He's the previous sect leader of such a sect that existed for several eras. But to think that I would receive such a thing after signing in at his tomb. Lin Jufeng shook his head. The war machine was indeed very powerful. If it was activated, even Lin Jufeng would have to spend a considerable amount of time dealing with it. But how was it useful to Lin Jufeng? He already had such a war machine. Back then, he had played with something like this decades ago. Back then, it was barely useful to him. But now, it wasn't useful at all. Well, it's better than nothing. When the time comes, I'll just send it to Emperor Da. I reckon that it can help suppress any turmoil in the Yuha dynasty. This way, I won't have to do anything and I can continue to cultivate in peace. Lin Jufeng could only console himself in this manner. He had to cultivate diligently to reach the peak of cultivation in this world. Only then could he revive Emperor Yuan and Emperor Ming. This was Lin Jufeng's ultimate goal. Returning to the cold palace with the war machine, the white cat looked at the 3-meter-tall war machine in surprise. The war machine's eyes were closed and lifeless. He walked along with Lin Jufeng. Whenever Lin Jufeng stopped, he would stop. He did no other actions nor expressed any other expression on his face. What is that? The white cat asked curiously. This is a war machine. It isn't useful to us, so I am planning on handing it over to Emperor Da. This should help him to stabilize the tumultuous state affairs of the Yuha dynasty. Lin Jufeng explained. Oh. Upon hearing that it wouldn't be of much help to them, the white cat lost her interest. She curled up on the frost jade bed and continued to cultivate. She was preparing for her eventual breakthrough into the grotto heaven realm. Lin Jufeng, on the other hand, sent a voice transmission to Emperor Da. Come to the cold palace. Emperor Da jolted awake. He ignored the state affairs and stood up in excitement. The voice he heard came from his big grand uncle. He had never seen Lin Jufeng's true appearance just yet. Princess Yulin brought him into the cold palace once. After that, he didn't have a chance to go in since then. Even when he asked Lin Jufeng for help that time, he stopped just short of entering the cold palace. But now that Lin Jufeng had called for him, Emperor Da was naturally excited. Putting down everything in his hands, he hurriedly left the Forbidden City and came to the gates of the cold palace on his own. Greetings, big grand uncle. Emperor Da greeted respectfully. Come in, Lin Jufeng said. Emperor Da immediately composed himself. He took a deep breath and entered the dilapidated cold palace. Passing through a few corridors, he saw a quiet courtyard. In front of the courtyard were 2 cherry trees that were now bald due to the changing seasons. 2 figures stood under the cherry trees. It was Lin Jufeng and a tall giant. Emperor Da knew this place. Princess Yulin had brought him here before. It was here that he discovered the true identity of the Zenith Heaven Path sect. Big grand uncle. Emperor Da greeted Lin Jufeng, who looked like an immortal that had been banished into this mortal realm. This is the first time that we've met, Lin Jufeng said calmly. This grandnephew has been unfilial, Emperor Da said obsequiously. In the Forbidden City, he was a domineering emperor. But in front of Lin Jufeng, he was a mere junior. I'm going into seclusion. Lin Jufeng looked at Emperor Da. Emperor Da fell into a daze. The situation in this world was becoming more and more chaotic as time went by. Of course, Emperor Da did his best to solve every problem that popped up while creating opportunities for the dynasty's development. But all of this relied on the fact that the Yuha dynasty had a terrifying guardian deity. Lin Jufeng rarely lent his help, but despite that, he had already become world-renowned. Those who wanted to deal with the Yuha dynasty had to consider Lin Jufeng's existence. As for those who truly wanted to destroy the Yuha dynasty, such as those demons at the Supremacy Realm yesterday, Lin Jufeng could still kill them with a single move. Lin Jufeng himself gave Emperor Da infinite confidence. But now that Lin Jufeng was about to enter seclusion, Emperor Da became silent for a moment. Then, he cupped his fists and bowed. This grandnephew wishes big grand uncle success. Lin Jufeng chuckled and added. This seclusion might take about 30 years. Emperor Da's joy then turned into shock. He thought that Lin Jufeng's seclusion would only take about a few years, at most 10 years. But he didn't expect it to be 30 years. It's still the same for me. I wish Grand Uncle success in his seclusion. But Emperor De still wished him all the best. Will you be able to maintain the stability of the Yuha God dynasty without me? Lin Jufeng directly asked about the crux of the matter. The Yuha God dynasty's stability might seem to be all because of Emperor De's ability. But all of these were on the surface. In reality, Lin Jufeng was the one that had suppressed the entire world and forced them to kneel before the Yuha God dynasty. If Lin Jufeng were to enter seclusion for so long, the Yuha God dynasty might be destroyed before he could complete his seclusion. It was because no matter how capable Emperor De was, he was still unable to manipulate the fate of the Yuha God dynasty in this brand new era. Lin Jufeng entering seclusion for 30 years was a life-and-death challenge for Emperor De. Big Grand Uncle has already helped me and the Yuha God dynasty a lot. In the end, I still am the Emperor of the Yuha God dynasty, not the Big Grand Uncle. Thus, it's my responsibility to do my best to maintain the stability of the dynasty. Big Grand Uncle can rest assured and enter seclusion. Emperor De took a deep breath before he replied. It has been 10 years since he ascended to the throne. From a young and inexperienced youth, he had turned into a wise emperor. You didn't disgrace both Emperor Yuan and Emperor Ming. You are a very responsible emperor. Lin Jufeng praised. Do you see this? Lin Jufeng pointed at the war machine. Emperor De looked at the 3-meter-tall war machine. The war machine's face was expressionless as ever, and the muscles on his body seemed to be surging with life. His entire existence seemed to be a paradox itself, but looking at him made one feel a strange sense of oppression. This is the war machine that I've prepared for you. He's very powerful. Activate him, and he will be able to suppress everyone in this brand new era for a long period of time. Lin Jufeng explained. Emperor De's eyes lit up. Thank you, Big Grand Uncle. Emperor De directly knelt. He was touched by Lin Jufeng's gesture. Even though this Big Grand Uncle of his was going into seclusion, he still didn't forget to prepare a trump card for him. The war machine is still inactive, take him away. Remember, you have to learn from your father and your grandfather when it comes to treating the common people. As long as you are the emperor for a day, you must always think about the people for a day, do you understand? Lin Jufeng instructed. I know that the world will soon be in chaos. I don't ask for anything else, I am just hoping to maintain the stability of the dynasty and ensure the safety of its people. Emperor De expressed his firm determination to Lin Jufeng. Lin Jufeng looked at him in satisfaction. From Emperor Yuan to Emperor Ming and then to Emperor De. The 3 emperors of the Yuha God dynasty have been outstanding so far. It could be said that their existence was a blessing to the people of the Yuha God dynasty. It was because they were outstanding that Lin Jufeng had the motivation to protect the Yuha God dynasty. If the one that became the emperor was a lazy and poor emperor, Lin Jufeng would have long ignored the affairs of the world and continued his daily routine in peace. Take the war machine and leave. In the next 30 years, you'll have to depend on yourself. Lin Jufeng raised his hand and tapped. A stream of true qi entered Emperor De's mind. It contained information as to how to control the war machine. Pung, pung, pung. Emperor De respectfully kowtowed to Lin Jufeng 3 times before he left the cold palace with the war machine. Once he was outside the cold palace, he closed the gates of the palace himself. With a bang, the gates closed. Emperor De looked at the closed gates of the cold palace. Then, he took a deep breath. In the future, I will have to rely on myself. Emperor De looked at the war machine. This was his new source of confidence. In the cold palace, the white cat appeared. Meow. Are you really going into seclusion for 30 years? The white cat asked. Yes, I want to thoroughly investigate the land of extreme negative energy in the next 30 years. I am also planning on fusing every technique that I have learned so far into one invincible technique that I can call my own, Lin Jufeng explained. Then, what if the Yuha God dynasty was destroyed in the next 30 years? The white cat asked. Then, I suppose it's the fate of the Yuha God dynasty. I can't possibly protect the Yuha God dynasty forever. Lin Jufeng let out a sigh and replied. He had already made arrangements and even gave Emperor De a trump card. As for what happened after that, it would depend on how Emperor De managed the dynasty. In the next 30 years or so, Lin Jufeng didn't plan to lend a helping hand. With the matters settled, Lin Jufeng could finally go into seclusion in peace. The Yuha God dynasty did not belong to him, he had no reason to protect it for the rest of his life. The reason why he became the Yuha God dynasty's guardian deity was because of Emperor Yuan and Emperor Ming. He only helped Emperor De because he was their descendant. But protecting the Yuha God dynasty forever was never a part of Lin Jufeng's ambitions. This time, the fate of the Yuha God dynasty was now in the hands of Emperor De. Lin Jufeng closed the door of the cold palace and brought the white cat down to the land of extreme negative energy. Are you really willing to let the Yuha God dynasty fend for itself? The white cat was skeptical. She couldn't believe it. Ever since she met Lin Jufeng, every time he made a big move or even left the cold palace was all for the sake of the Yuha God dynasty. Lin Jufeng replied, "Didn't I leave them a trump card? The war machine of the Zenith Heaven Path sect certainly was a terrifying weapon." The white cat's soft and snow-white tail wrapped around Lin Jufeng's neck as she intimately placed her face on Lin Jufeng's and asked, "What if the war machine failed?" Lin Jufeng thought for a while and replied with a question of his own. Is there a need for the existence of a god dynasty that I have to constantly save? Over the years, whether it was Emperor Yuan, Emperor Ming, or Emperor De, Lin Jufeng helped them solve many of their major problems. Those problems were brought about by the recovery of the world's spiritual energy. It was understandable that the Yuha God dynasty found it hard to handle them well, so it was normal for Lin Jufeng to help them out. Especially in Emperor Yuan's reign, Lin Jufeng would definitely have the heart to help his own brother. When it came to Emperor Ming, Lin Jufeng watched him grow up. It was understandable that Lin Jufeng helped him too. But Emperor De had never interacted with Lin Jufeng in his younger years. The only reason why Lin Jufeng helped Emperor De was due to the fact that he was connected by blood to both Emperor Yuan and Emperor Ming. However, Lin Jufeng knew that he couldn't always help Emperor De and clean up his mess. And what if Emperor De died by accident and the succeeding emperor came to beg Lin Jufeng for his help? Would Lin Jufeng still lend a hand? Not anymore. The relationship between me and the Yuha God dynasty has always been in decline with the passing of Emperor Yuan and Emperor Ming. Helping Emperor De is the last. Whether the Yuha God dynasty lives or dies in the future will all depend on Emperor De's methods. Lin Jufeng said. After all, the lifestyle that he had always wanted was to sign in peacefully and pursue the peak of the cultivation path. Don't worry, Emperor De is a decent emperor. He consistently studied state affairs for the past few years, and his methods have gradually become more and more innovative. With the war machine serving as his trump card, he can handle every troublesome matter out there. I won't also have to worry anymore, Lin Jufeng said. His words carried confidence in Emperor De. He brought the white cat to the land of extreme negative energy, a huge underground world. It was a very dark world with ghostly fires flickering everywhere. These fires were the souls of the former powerhouses who died in battle for the right to occupy this place. The fires have been constantly burning for thousands of years. These ghost flames also seemed to drift with the air currents. They looked and felt bizarre. The white cat leaned on Lin Jufeng as she looked at her surroundings with a calm gaze. With Lin Jufeng around, she wasn't afraid. Lin Jufeng brought the white cat with him as he continued to venture deeper. In the past 5 years, he had spent most of his time in the land of extreme negative energy. He signed in before more than 1,000 graves, all of which belonged to people who died in action back then. From the number of casualties, one could see how intense the war that Demon King Pingtian had mentioned to him was. Lin Jufeng planned to sign in at the remaining tombs in the land of extreme negative energy. Then, he would also use the time in between to expand his domain. He wanted to accumulate enough strength to climb into a higher realm. Arriving at the next tomb in line, Lin Jufeng stopped and chanted in his heart. Sign in. Sign in successful. Received light Mandara technique. Lin Jufeng was instantly overjoyed. I followed Princess Yulin to the plains and I received the Dark Mandara technique as a reward for signing in at Wolf Story Mountain. But the Dark Mandara technique was only half of the entire technique, so I was never able to experience the true power of the Mandara cultivation technique. So I put aside the Black Mandara technique and mentally noted that I would only cultivate using it after I've obtained the other half. I didn't expect to receive the Light Mandara technique here. What a pleasant surprise. Lin Jufeng happily browsed through the Light Mandara technique. After signing in, the various information about the cultivation technique entered Lin Jufeng's mind. Lin Jufeng instantly learned it. He then compared it with the Dark Mandara technique. Where there was darkness, there must be light. Where there was light, there must be darkness. The fusion of darkness and light was the true Mandara cultivation technique. It was a supreme technique that belonged to the Essence Chi sect. Yin-Yang Mandara Great Domain. Darkness and light transformed into yin and yang. Combined, they formed the Mandara flower, a catalyst for a domain. It was perfect for Lin Jufeng. His divine-grade grotto heaven was already a domain. Lin Jufeng had created and explored his own domain without any guidance whatsoever. As a result, his strength improved greatly in the past 5 years. But without any guidance on domains, his research had long stagnated. With this cultivation technique, Lin Jufeng gained confidence in cultivating his domain. As expected, this place is truly my blessed land. If I had gotten rid of those secular matters earlier, my domain could have already been at the perfection stage by now. Lin Jufeng muttered. He was overjoyed with his reward today. There were stages in the supremacy realm, but they were according to levels like the grotto heaven realm. They were divided according to the completion percentage of their very own domain. Beginner, lesser mastery, greater mastery, and perfection. This was how strength was divided in the supremacy realm. But this classification wasn't suitable for everything. It was only suitable for domains. Everyone had their very own domains, some were big, some were small, some were ordinary, and some were heaven-defying. The difference in power between different domains was huge. One could say that everyone's domain had to go through these 4 stages. But it didn't mean that one would definitely be able to defeat or even crush a greater mastery stage domain with a perfection stage domain. This was an incorrect assumption. What if the grade of the perfection stage domain was ordinary? Even if it was in perfection, the maximum coverage it could have was only about 100 inches of space. How strong could it possibly be? Compared to someone else whose domain came from his own comprehension of heaven and earth, the cycle of life and death. How strong could that ordinary domain be? Even if the latter was at the beginner stage while the former was at the perfection stage. The battle would most likely end in a draw. Ordinary domains at the perfection stage could not possibly hold a candle against those that had high-grade domains at the lesser mastery stage. Lin Jufeng began to comprehend the Yin-Yang Mandara Great Domain, and he soon came to understand these principles. Back then, he had to rely on his own intuition. There wasn't such profound knowledge recorded in the royal library of the Yuha God dynasty, so he took many detours to reach his current stage. Fortunately, Lin Jufeng could still rectify his situation. For this, he had to cultivate in the Yin-Yang Mandara Great Domain technique. In the land of extreme negative energy, Lin Jufeng quickly blended with the environment. He had no intention of wasting time. The imperial capital of the Yuha God dynasty. As Lin Jufeng entered the land of extreme negative energy, Emperor De returned to the Forbidden City and sat alone in the Great Council Hall for the night. He stayed up all night. He constantly thought about the Yuha God dynasty's future. Without Lin Jufeng's protection, even with the war machine, he still felt uncomfortable. I have to make my arrangements. There's no such thing as permanent enemies, only permanent interests. I should take advantage of the might that Big Grand Uncle displayed when he killed those supremacies. With him as my backer, I should be able to rope in many people to my side. I can rope in everyone to me, Taoist sects, Buddhist sects, the people from the wild lands, the tribes in the plains, and even the members of the demonic sects and overseas factions. They are all people that I can convince to side with me. Together, we can stabilize the Yuha God dynasty. Then, once I am done with that, I should make sure that the sects and the factions of the world are busy fighting against each other. If that happens, then they would not have the energy to deal with the Yuha God dynasty. Recruiting powerhouses in private, cultivating talented youths, and building an invincible army. This must be done at all costs. Even without Big Grand Uncle, the Yuha God dynasty won't fall. I must use everything at my disposal to seek huge benefits for the Yuha God dynasty in this chaotic world. Emperor De thought about it all night and came up with a lot of ideas. He was no longer the cultivation-obsessed young man that he was in the past. He had become a wily old fox. Under the earnest guidance of the court officials, he became skillful at manipulating the affairs of the world to control its overall situation. Big Grand Uncle, I will prove to you that I will not be worse than Father or Grandpa Emperor. Emperor De's fighting spirit soared. The Yuha God dynasty will improve greatly in my hands. Thanks for listening. The story continues shortly. This was read to you by Erebus.